So this video is going to be what I consider to be the fundamental basics of aiming in World of Tanks, the kind of stuff that like you could probably get to like I don't know 4,000 win 8 with as a reference because like advanced aiming in this game is really just not that useful outside of some really niche scenarios. This video is going to be specifically any setting to do with aiming and the actual mechanics of like moving your mouse. It's not going to be anything to do with like where to shoot tanks or what to do with different shell types, anything like that. So first of all, the most prominent setting is mouse sensitivity, and I mean there is obviously a range for personal preference, but the thing is, I think most people that play this game, at least half, probably closer to like 3/4, have a mouse sensitivity that is way too high. And this is what it looks like. This is from I got this from a streamer. That's why it's like super cropped like this because I needed a clip to actually show this. But this guy didn't ask me for help, so I don't really want to be criticizing the gameplay with his name on it. But this is sensitivity that is way too high. You see how it's jittering around? Like, if you have sensitivity that is this high, you see your reticle jittering like that, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you want to be able to aim directly in the center of where you want to hit. Obviously, there's dispersion or whatever. But if you don't have the ability to aim in certain places, then you're just gonna be like screwing yourself. And this is also another clip with sensitivities. This is way, way too high. Anyway, like you don't have to have like some fancy gamer mouse, whatever. This is my mouse, like Corsair Night Sword. Uh, you can like I obviously set my DPI on this, but any Windows computer and Mac will have the same kind of thing. Go into your settings, devices, come to mouse, and you get this bar. This won't have like exact DPI, but at least it gives you a number. This is that's more than you can say for World of Tanks, because in World of Tanks you get whatever the hell this is, so you can just arbitrarily guess whatever the hell your sensitivity is for some reason. I've heard people measure it by like the letter that's above it. But that's that. Another thing that I'm going to use one of these clips for is you see this guy. He is using shift to go into sniper mode. This is like a setting that I never even knew existed for most of the time that I played this game, so I never use shift. I only scroll. But people that use shift, they have a setting where I think it's here. Be last use, yes. So this is the sniper mode zoom level. So when you press shift, you can either set it to one of these standard magnifications, or you can have the last used. So you go into sniper mode, and then you scroll to whatever magnification you want. The next time you press shift, it'll go back into that. So I have no experience with this, but I would probably suggest like 2 or 4x, something like that, because this guy has it set at 8x. So every single time he presses shift, he's going to 8x zoom. Look at this. Like, this guy is insanely close to this conch. Goes into 8 times zoom. Like, you're just screwing yourself with this. Like, look at this. How are you supposed to try and aim like this at close range when you're going into 8x? So that is something to be aware of with this. As far as other settings, server reticle is probably better to use. Like, you won't have any crazy shots that'll go out of your reticle or anything like that. But it looks pretty stupid, so that's like the only reason I don't use it. 16 and 25x zoom is worth having on. I can't really think of any reason not to have it on. There are some like really good players that choose not to have it on for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but there's not really any point in my point of view. Horizontal stabilization, it should always be on. This is if you're in sniper mode and you turn your hull, that your turret will not move with it. Dynamic camera, don't have this on. This is like a role player setting. This is absolute garbage. This is optics effect, probably not worth having on. As far as that, this For the view range circles and stuff on the minimap, this doesn't have a ton to do with aiming, but every single one of these should be on. Especially the ones that potentially have something to do with aiming is camera direction beam for blind firing, or like shooting out a render, and potentially the draw circle, because I have to get into render certain people sometimes. For like graphic settings, you should not have extra effects on. Extra effects is like the dirt and shit from explosions, all that kind of stuff. Grass and sniper mode, not worth having on. Reticle, you should have an aim point with a penetration indicator. And for the arcade mode, it really doesn't matter anything else. But for sniper mode, you need to have diagonal for the indicator, because this is the diagonal right here. And you use this. This is a perfectly 12 o'clock line, and you use this to line up with these. So if you get blinded by people, you get shot by people that aren't lit, you swing this, so this line lines up directly with this one. So you're guaranteed to have them perfectly on horizontally, and then you just have to kind of guess vertically where they are. And outlining, simplified, must have simplified, because if you have standard on, it'll show the outline of all the random shit that is not actually part of the tank. So this is the actual armor model. So you need to have this on so you're not like taking shots at a fucking machine gun instead of the armor. So I have texture on for impenetrable area. This is because like I don't have anything for the penetrable, because when this first came out, there are two options: you fill and texture. I know the fill was having major problems glitching on ridge lines and stuff. So I didn't want to use this, so I just put on texture for the more important one, which is impenetrable. Honestly, it's probably worth throwing something back on for penetrable, because I could see this being useful in certain scenarios. Just something I don't have on right now. Battle notifications, this kind of stuff is all pretty standard. I don't think any of this other stuff really matters. There's auto aim indicator, probably worth having on, but that's like not that crazy. So you should try and spend as little time in sniper mode as possible, because actually that's one last setting. I think this is graphics. Your field of view should be maximum. You want this as high as possible to get the most information. So when you're in sniper mode, it is really easy to kind of tunnel vision and get lost, because you're obviously your field of view is gonna be way smaller. You're just not getting as much information. So you should try and spend as little time in sniper mode as possible, which is kind of why like these couple clips are just showing me looking for tanks. And instead of like sitting in sniper mode and then just looking back and forth trying to find shots, if I look in, if I can't feather an outline on one of these guys, then I'll just pull out of sniper mode and go look at somebody else. Like, it's just way faster, and you're giving yourself the most information. Like this right here, I was looking at my minimap, so I see this guy get lit. If I stayed in sniper mode and tried and go aim at this guy, he would have gotten unlit before I got to look at him. And because I got to look at him, I got to see where he was going so I can blind him. And this is something that's pretty common. We use auto aim way too much. If you want to get better at aiming, then you should try and aim. So just don't use auto aim. Pretty much, there are like some specific scenarios where auto aim is the best or the only option, where like maybe you're circling somebody or you really need to focus on driving, whatever it is. But I see this shit all the time. There's these people that they're sitting still. The person that's shooting at is sitting still, and they're just auto aiming. Like, I really don't get it. This is another thing. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, you just drive to a point where it's not possible for them to like pull forward, so you don't have a shot, and then you just sit and aim. This guy's gaming hard right here. What the fuck is this, dude? This is another one. Like these guys, I don't know. I feel like these guys have to be playing on a trackpad or something. That or their sensitivity is so unbelievably high that they actually struggle to aim at tanks. Like those are the only theories in my mind. And this is why I try not to use auto aim as much as possible. This is, don't get me wrong, this is not a great shot. I'm circling the C3. This is mostly just laziness because I don't want to like turn my camera. And I end up taking the shot and I bounce him the side. And like the best way is for me to just turn my camera and actually aim at him. But there's another technique for this kind of thing. And because your gun will always like normalize the center of your screen, for something like this on an E3, where like the only armor I have to worry about is like the front right here. The back is this is all pen. So because auto aim is at center mass, if I were to like right now press right click again and turn auto aim off, my gun will normalize towards the center of my screen. So if I let it normalize for just a little bit, then it's not going to be shooting center mass. It'll shoot him like right here or something. Just a technique that you can use. I think that's it for this. So these are just some, I don't know what to call them, like quirks maybe. Just like some things to be wary of when you're aiming and stuff. And what I mentioned about server reticle, so this is something that nearly everybody that plays this game has undoubtedly seen. And it's when you're trying to aim at somebody and your shot just shoots out of the reticle to the side. And it's obviously server, client, desync. It's, if you watch that World of Tanks video they just made about aiming that I didn't watch, I know they referenced that because I watched 30 seconds of a Scale 4 LTE video and he was talking about it. But this, like, I don't know why I put these three clips in this order. Anyway, if you've watched any of my other clips, I've hit a couple of these shots. This is me shooting in front of the reticle. This is the exact same way that you can have a shot shoot behind the reticle and I shoot in front of it. This is because, like, theoretically, me and Doc talk about this. It's like the only time you're gonna have a lot of desync between the server reticle and your reticle is when you have a long turret rotation. It's like the shell is intrinsically tied to the hull movement. So if you do something like this, I have like a super quick hull movement, then I can shoot in front of it. And then you'll see stuff like this. Like, I don't know, I don't have any other, like, you in some of my videos you see like you can back up or rock back and forth and you can manipulate the shot, whatever. This is like something, if I'm ever have like a long turret rotation, I'll just give it like an extra few milliseconds just to make sure that they're lined up. You can also get another mod that will show the client reticle and the server reticle overlaid on each other, which is probably good to have, but I just don't use any mods. And this is that exact phenomenon happening to somebody else. So I track this guy. He doesn't have a kit. I drive around him. So obviously his hull is immobilized and he's going to have a really long turret rotation. And he shoots. And he shoots over here. Undoubtedly, on his screen, his reticle was on me. But when he clicked, his gun didn't fire at me. This is something else. This is... So, the way the zeroing works in this game is obviously you have to lead your shot if somebody's moving horizontally or whatever, but you don't have to like elevate the gun and do whatever, like your standard ballistic physics, whatever. So the game will normalize your shell, or not normalize. It will calculate the shell drop based off of where your aim point is, and there's a difference between aim point and like your reticle. So like, I don't know, what is it good? I don't know, what is it good? This is like, this is the aim point. The reticle is the thing that moves. The aim point is in the center of your screen no matter what. The reticle is not really relevant to the physics of the shot. It's just exactly where it's aimed at. The game will calculate shell drop based on where your aim point is aimed. So this is, I just saw this, I was watching Dark's play. This is when he's banned on Twitch. So he's pre-firing this cupola, and because this is kind of a unique scenario where right behind this M4 is like 300 meters, and he's aimed like right here on the ridge or something. So this is probably like 400 meters at least. So he's playing a 260. He doesn't have he's shooting heat. Actually, no, shooting it doesn't have like insanely high shell velocity, but it's calculating it based on this ground back here. So because your standard ballistic trajectory is like basic physics, because he needs to go much further distance, the arc will be higher, like the shot angle will be higher, and it's gonna look like he shoots just way over the cupola. This is something I feel like a lot of people will see something like this and they really just think the game is broken. And the thing is, like, sure, like I actually don't know if it's really possible for them to fix something like this. You just kind of have to be wary of how far away you're actually aiming at is. Like, if this guy was right in front of this house, then it would not be that big of a problem because the distance between his cupola and this house is like 50 meters or something. But this I used like 30B heat rounds to exacerbate the problem because lower shell velocity. So he's gonna drive back and forth, and I'm gonna be pre-firing his cupola because low shell velocity, whatever. And it just looks like it's not even close because I'm taking shots before I actually get an outline on him, and these all look like they're missing so bad, but they're not really missing that bad relative to my aim point over here. Like, if you watch these shots where they actually hit, they're really like not that far off where I'm aiming. It just looks like I'm getting totally fucked because I'm technically trying to aim at this guy, but the game doesn't see it that way. These are going to be some clips of, I don't know, probably positioning yourself in an optimal scenario to be able to aim at things. This is the best scenario I can find for this. I always play either the buildings on this side or this side, and I play usually the bushes on the end of the buildings are better, but I'm here for whatever reason. And you want to line yourself up to be able to shoot them no matter what. Like, if I stopped like here, kind of, and someone comes out this side, then I'm gonna need to pull forward and shoot them. And if you ever played these bushes, medium tanks generally can sit unspotted if they're not moving, but as soon as you start moving in a medium tank and there's someone opposing you on the other side, you're gonna get lit. So you want to obviously be able to shoot all three of these because people all come from all different times. And the way you want to do this is you want to aim at the furthest or the closest one to the angle. So I line myself up on this one, and as soon as I line myself up on this one, then obviously these ones are not going to be a problem. This is like the first time I played A1 in a pub in forever. And 277, I found out when I got here, it wasn't really short. It was too short to shoot over this, but this is not as much of a problem as people think. I feel like a lot of people would kind of give up on this, and they would either try and like side scrape this corner, or they would just peek like a monkey. But the thing is, you can kind of wedge yourself up in this game. So there's like a little. It's hard to see from here. It's kind of the rock. There's kind of like a little triangle here, and you kind of like wedge your track up on this. I just need like a tiny little bit of elevation to be able to shoot over this. And now once I do this, these guys are totally fucked because I've been playing totally held down on them. This is the kind of thing like these. I don't know exactly if I would consider these to be aiming or more like game sense, but it's a kind of game sense that helps you aim. So this, I see this leopard. He's not looking at me, obviously, so I just drive straight over the ridge, like over the top, and I shoot him. Now I shoot him. He's looking at me. He probably should have shot me here, but he's a noob. It doesn't really matter. So by the time I peek, we're both gonna be loaded. So I cannot drive straight over the top like I did the first time because he will have so much time to shoot me before I actually be able to shoot him. So if I want to I need to shoot this guy as close to the same time as he shoots me as possible so I can out reload him because he has a longer reload than me. So what I'm gonna do, instead of like driving over the top of this ridge anywhere where you're just gonna get screwed, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna wedge my track up on this piece of ground right here. So we basically shoot each other at the same time. And because I do this, I'm able to trade 2-for-1 on this guy right here, and I kill him.
I got 17.
Like, if I didn't do that, and I just went straight over, like, here, like I did the first time, he shoots me. There's probably at least, like, a second between there. And at that time, he either reloads pretty much the exact same time as me or before me, and then I'm dead. So it's the kind of stuff like this. Like, I don't know, maybe this is game sense, aiming, whatever it is, but this is the kind of stuff that helps you win fights. This is probably the most common place to give yourself extra gun oppression. This is something you have to be extremely worried about, though, because these rocks are very slippery. And that shot was, this is not a great shot. Kind of unlucky, but it's really just not a good shot. And if I didn't take that terrible shot, then I wouldn't have taken that one because he would have been dead. But there's just some scenarios where you can help yourself aim just by having better game sense. Okay, so now that we got all the prerequisites out of the way, this is like the actual aiming itself. So this is probably one of the most important things I feel, and this is setting yourself up to aim in third person. And I shoot a lot in third person without sniper mode, but that is not really what I'm even talking about here. This is specifically setting yourself up to go into sniper mode. I think probably like all the heavy lifting of aiming should be done in third person, like probably 75% of the aiming, and then you just go into sniper mode and make some fine adjustments and then you fire. So this is an example. So this guy is sitting here. I'm gonna peek him. So what I'm gonna do is in third person, I'm going to aim basically exactly where I want to aim at. And then when I peek him, this is where I'm going to be aimed. So I'm just going to have to go into sniper mode and then just aim at his cupola. And there's really no aiming that's even being done here. Like, this is really basic. The only, like, probably the hardest part of this is getting a decent counter strafe and timing the click. Like, there's like no aiming happening here. Anybody could do this. And it's just because I'm setting myself up in third person where I want to aim at, and I just counter strafe and click. This is the same kind of thing. This one, I go in just regular sniper mode. And then obviously this guy is now aware that I'm shooting it from here. He's going to pre-aim me. So I want to shoot him, but I want to have myself available to be shot back for the least amount of time possible. So I want to time my reload exactly when I peek. I'm going to pre-aim in third person, and then it's just a clean counter strafe. He's dead. This is just really basic. Like, none of these are really impressive shots. I'm just aiming third person. Like, I don't really watch a lot of other streamers that play this game, but sometimes I watch like some random fucking noob, and they're aiming in like some random place, and they're peeking, and then like it's just so bad. And the thing is, this is so easy to change about your gameplay. This guy was really pissed off. This guy DM'd me after the game, and he was butthurt that I was hitting snapshots on him. But what he doesn't realize is I'm literally aiming at him already. Like, when I peek him, I'm aiming exactly where he's going to be. I just drive forward and click. There's no snapshots. This is going to be 3 peaks. First peak is decent. Second peak is absolutely god-awful. And third peak is perfection. First peak, I've never been lit. I rotated from the other side of the map. Nobody knows I'm here. So I just peek up at the mouse, aiming at him, shoot the cheek, whatever. That is perfectly fine, because nobody could possibly have been pre-aiming me here. But you never peek a ridgeline in the same place twice, because this guy, and there's actually, a version 4 back here, they know exactly when I just peeked. They're pre-aiming me now, and I peek straight back into it. It is so bad. Never peek in the same place twice. You want to change the angle at least slightly. So I realized that I'm a fucking idiot, and I got super lucky. So I changed the angle, and this is about as perfect as a peek could possibly be in this game. I'm pre-aiming his cheek and third person, setting it up, and that's just a perfect counter strafe. It's nearly impossible to fight back against that kind of thing. This is another example where like this is not really even aiming that's that good. I'm just pre-aiming, and it's just a good counter strafe. This was similar, so I shoot that guy, and then I shoot this guy, and then so the leopard's unspotted, but I know he's playing the edge of the rock. So I'm gonna zoom all the way out, and this is like kind of fortunate because I can't really see exactly where the rock ends, but I'm gonna pre-aim in third person where I think the rock ends, and then I'm gonna zoom back in. It's gonna keep the exact same place I was spotted, and I shoot the end of the rock. It's the same kind of thing. You're not hitting this blind shot in sniper mode. The only reason I hit this blind shot is because I was looking at him in third person, and I see I'm like kind of leading him in third person, and I take this shot. You're not going into sniper mode and hitting this shot. Now we're getting into actual sniper mode aiming. This is going to be pretty much just actual pre-aiming of what you want to hit, and then how to actually find shots. So this is the sensitivity is way too high, but he's kind of like, so he's going like back and forth trying to hit the cupola. This is the kind of thing you really don't want to get into. You don't want to be chasing shots. He actually hits this, which is just really lucky, but this is the kind of thing you want to be doing. This guy is driving over, or just letting him drive into the shot. The same kind of thing, pre-aim, let him drive into it, and then I'm going to do it again and set it up in third person. Maybe it's going to pull it, and then I'm just going to peek and go. Same kind of thing, really not much mouse movement, mostly just driving into the shot. This is the same kind of thing. People are doing serpentine, you don't want to chase them. And the same thing for this, you don't want to start aiming before you're loaded most of the time. Because if you start aiming and then you lose yourself and then you load, then you're kind of just totally fucked. So you want to wait till you're loaded, just see what they're doing. This guy is doing the serpentine. Most people when they're doing the serpentine, they follow a pretty like similar pattern. I'm just gonna sit here and aim, and he's gonna drive back into it. This is just an EBR, like it's clean movement. Track him, pre-aim, fire. I feel like when you go into sniper mode, you want to track the target, and then you want to pre-aim. And if maybe the pattern changes, whatever it is, and then you have to adjust your aim, you really don't want to be aiming more than twice. If you aim more than twice, then you're kind of getting lost. So it should be just kind of clean movement. This is the same kind of thing. This guy is going to drive towards me. I feel like a lot of people would be kind of either like tracking like what they want to hit, like maybe his lower plate, maybe they want to hit this. As he's driving forward, they're kind of tracking it down. You don't want to get into that kind of shit. You want to pre-aim where they're going to be and let them drive into it. It's clean. And I'll let you see this track shot because it's a cool track shot. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. This is finding a place to pre-aim. This is not like about cupolas or anything. It's specifically about like leading tanks that are driving. So this is gonna start super easy and it's gonna progressively get harder. So this is the first shot. This is like insanely easy. Pretty much anybody could hit this. You're looking at a city. Where is he gonna be? Right here, because this is where there are no buildings. This is where you pre-aim. It's gonna drive through. That's easy. Second one. Can't see this guy, but this is also pretty easy. You can kind of just guesstimate where it's going to be. Obviously, there's a house right here. He's not going to be here. There's a house that's going to end approximately somewhere here. So where you're going to aim, somewhere in the middle, and then you're going to feather for them. Easy. Oh, this music fucking loud as hell again. This is slightly more difficult, but this is kind of like a technique thing. So sitting up here, the first thing that gets lit is the Progetto. So naturally, I aim at him first because he gets lit first, but then I see that the M60 gets lit in front of him. So I can't really see any of this shit. So what I'm going to do is, because the ground is so flat up here, and it's really just like buildings and shit that are going to be in the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the guy in the front to find an outline of a place where there's no cover for them. And because these guys are all going to be driving, essentially, for me, basically in a straight line, I'm going to use this guy to find a place to pre-aim for this guy. I'm going to see that again. Yeah, find an outline on the M60, use it to shoot the projectile, and I can do the same thing again, except now I can pretty much see anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So now I can just pre-aim this guy and shoot him. Pretty easy. Kind of just a technique thing. This is getting more into guesstimating. I know there's a gap here, so I pre-fire this, but this guy is pretty short, so don't hit him. There's another kind of thing, like you really don't have a chance to hit this in most tanks. It's because I'm shooting golden leopard, so I have really high shell velocity, and this guy's moving pretty fast. So I really don't have time to find a gap and get an outline and then lead him and then shoot him. I am trying to find an outline and I'm basically just clicking as soon as I find an outline. So this kind of thing, obviously I can't really see exactly what this guy's going to be, but you can, it's just like the Redshire clip. You can kind of find things where you know for a fact they're not going to be. So there's this house, basically this guy not going to be here. There's this house is going to end like here somewhere. There's potentially a gap in here. There could be something in the way, I don't know. But this is like my best guess. We're trying to find him. And I got an outline to shoot him. This first shot is easy. He's just in the open. The second shot, this is a shot I'll be taking if there are no other targets. There's not really anything else for me to be doing right now. So I'm just gonna take shots that might hit. So I see these walls right here. I don't know if he's actually gonna be behind them, but I pre-fire anyway. He actually ends up being behind them. And then he's gonna back up again before I load. But then I look and I see, it takes me a second to look at this and see if this is actually destructible. So I feel like that the penetrable outline thing might help. I don't know if it does, but it might. And then I don't know if he's gonna be behind it, but I know I can shoot through it, so I just shoot. And he's dead. This EBRs, light tanks, whatever, mostly this is like an EBR thing. Cresting ridges when they're lit. You don't want to be tracking them. You want to find on the ridge line where they're gonna crest, and then you shoot. Pretty hard to hit, but this is like an extremely hard shot to find. You really want to be trying to find shots if you have nothing better to do. And if you start doing stuff like this, trying to find shots on people and stuff, then you're gonna build up a repository of like angles and shit that you know, and then the next time you're not gonna have to find it and you can just use it on somebody. That's how you kind of get better at the game. This is like a pain in the ass to find this shot, but it's worth it. This is like, obviously I've been talking about pre-aiming, and because people have to pre-aim, you can kind of bait them. This is not a great example of this, but you know what I'm going to be talking about. This is like a VKK thing, or a Panzer 7, whatever. Obviously, they've got thick lower plate, and they've got this weak point on the side. And you'll kind of have them wiggle back and forth, trying to bait you into firing at one of them when it's not a great angle for you. This guy doesn't do a great job of it, and it doesn't really matter. But I'm not even going to play his game. I'm just going to pre-aim his lower plate, and I'm just going to wait for him to drive into it. This is the kind of shit you should be doing. You should not be chasing, like, when they do this, like, wiggle, you should not be aiming back and forth. You pick one of them, and you pre-aim it, and then when they drive into it, you click. And this is where you can kind of meta people. The exact same thing that I just did. But the thing is, I did that one, I did it on the first time. Like, I pre-aim, and the first time he drives into it, I click. This guy is slightly worse, but he understands that concept. So I'm like kind of totally fucked here. I'm in a Badger, and I need this guy to bounce a shot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the wiggle, but instead of giving him a pattern, when I wiggle the first time, when I go back, instead of like the way that he does this, instead of like continuing to turn, I'm just gonna cut back onto this guy. So let me watch. So I shoot this guy, I do the wiggle, and then I kind of do a very small section. So this guy, he expects me to keep the same pattern, but when I kind of cut it on him, he pre-fires and he just bounces. And then I win this fight. I kill both these guys. This is another thing. This is, I don't know, this is not really, this is like baiting yourself. This has nothing to do with other people. This is Not a great example of this, but this is the only one that I could find in the time that I was making this video. So I decided I was making this shit in March, and here we are. This is when you track somebody and you don't have a definitive time on how long the track repair is or something. If I were to aim at the drive wheel again and try and hit the track, you can kind of bait yourself into missing the shot because, like, you see, I was aimed for the retrack, and then as I reload, I kind of realized that it's stupid, and I just aim more to where he would be because once he repairs the track, he's driving forward, and I don't know what his track repair is, so it's better just to guarantee yourself you're gonna pen rather than aim at this and he drives forward and then you fucking bounce his ass or something. And last but not least, I'm gonna be talking about pattern recognition, and this is like something that takes a lot more experience to kind of hit, but this is something I would still consider super kind of basic aiming knowledge. And it's pretty much always just when people like rock back and forth. So this guy, when he rocks forward, he gives me a better shot at his like turret roof and cupola. So it kind of flattens out and it's a bigger target. And he's gonna do the exact same thing again. Except this time, he's gonna drive backward this way. And he's gonna just give me a shot because he's rocking back and forth. This is another guy. He's all like nearly perfectly side scraped here, except the only thing that he's doing is he's rocking back and forth. And when he rocks back and forth, gives me a tiny little bit of his lower plate, and I'm playing a leopard, so I hit those. E3, like you think you are totally fucked here, but there's a place you can pin right here, and he gives it to me when he rocks forward. This again, this is the same serpentine thing. This is like an RNG shot. This guy is actually angling like really well, and he's not even giving me the mantlet shot. His cheek is basically perfectly angled. It would be really hard to pen that. So I have nothing better to do. So I'm just gonna take a shot at this guy, and he's rocking back and forth. So I'm just gonna try and give myself the best chance to pen. But the thing is, this is actually not even a great shot because when somebody is angled like this, you obviously want your shell to contact as close to 90 degrees as possible. And this is 90 degrees. Anything further this way, you're just having the angle get bigger. I end up taking a shot over here, but the real place to take this shot is right here. Like, I mean, it's the only difference is this is kind of a harder shot to hit. But like when he rocks forward, he is flattening a little bit. This is still an RNG shot, but it's just like giving yourself the best chance to pen. And the thing is, once I pen that shot, now he thinks he was over angling, so he flattens his cheek, and that's a pen every day of the week. This last shot, I don't even really know why I added this. This is just nothing about that. And this is the kind of thing, like once you see all of these patterns of people rocking back and forth, you can kind of just collect them all, and it gets to a point where you don't even have to have them do a pattern. Like, I don't have to see this guy rock back and forth twice. As soon as he is playing this corner, I know that he's gonna rock forward. I know it's coming, so I'm gonna hit it on the first try. And that's just the kind of thing you want to get to at a certain point. Kind of just want to be able to do this kind of shit to people. So, like, noobs will give you patterns and stuff. Good players won't really give you patterns, but if you know it's coming, then you can just shit on them anyway. So I think that's pretty much it, honestly. I know there's undoubtedly some shit that I forgot about, but I actually did not spend a lot of time making this video. I just was collecting clips, and then I spent a lot of time not making the video. But here we are. Hopefully I got everything, and I don't remember some shit as soon as I am done. But the one last thing is if somebody's out of render, you can ping on the map. Say, like, there's an enemy tank right here. You can ping on them, and because you can look at the ping in game, you can ping exactly on them, and it'll give you pretty much the exact location of where they are, and you can shoot them out of render, even though you can't actually see anything. Well, hopefully this video helped you, and I think it's gonna end up being like fucking 30 minutes long or some shit. So good luck.